Hello and welcome to another episode of Pause for Payments. I'm Kristy Duncan and I'm very excited to have with me Jennifer Barker, Managing Director and Head of Client Service and Implementation, Wholesale Payments at JP Morgan. Jennifer is based in Dallas. Welcome, Jennifer.
Thank you so much, Kristy, for having me. I'm thrilled to be here.
Excellent. Client service models in the wholesale banking market have remained quite consistent over the past few decades, but the pandemic has presented some opportunities to rethink these models. Jennifer spends a lot of time on client service in her MD role at JP Morgan and has seen firsthand how the market has changed in the past year. I'm excited about this discussion, so let's get started. Jennifer, you and your team work firsthand with clients in the wholesale market. Can you tell us how have their expectations for servicing evolved as a result of COVID?
Kristy, you're absolutely right. Client service is a very interesting and dynamic space and certainly has, I would say, morphed and changed with COVID. And clients have expectations around strong advisory and really understanding who they are working with from a servicing perspective. And so traditionally, sometimes service can be viewed as more of a back office function. You may call if there's an issue or a question, but what we're finding, particularly in this environment, is clients are really moving the client servicing question up even into the sales process and making that a very important part of how they make buying decisions. So there's two things that we're seeing is first is relationships. Relationships have always been critical in client service. Certainly your relationship with the company, but we are seeing more and more our clients want to know who are they working with from an onboarding and servicing perspective. So their bios, their backgrounds, their experience level, it is becoming a more important factor in terms of servicing our clients. It's also recognizing that it's not a one size fits all. So the advisory function is a really important part of how the servicing function is evolving in transaction banking, and especially at JP Morgan is certainly clients want their questions answered, but we see our role as client success officers really helping our clients achieve their own goals, helping them improve, save money, get more efficient, whatever their goals are. And so we spend a lot of time thinking about that advisory function of client service in addition to inquiry management and answering questions. The other interesting trend that we're seeing, which is probably not uncommon in other industries too, is clients are really being very vocal and articulate about how and when and where they want to be serviced. And so the demand for seamless digital on-demand tools is generally very high, and it's different in different regions. But generally speaking, if clients have a quick question, they're very interested in sort of quick virtual assistant type tools and want to have a little bit more self-service options from a technology perspective. And so we've been able to really think about how do we provide those tools, and then also how do we integrate that quickly into our back office, and certainly new technologies like APIs and some of the other, and machine learning and artificial intelligence has allowed us to give clients immediate on the spot answers through virtual technology. So I would say those are the key trends that we're seeing as a result of COVID.
That's so interesting. And it's interesting how things are changing on the spot and on the fly, and how we've got some great tools that we're now able to pull together to support those new expectations. So can you tell us what the new service models are emerging as a result of these increased expectations?
Sure. So there's a lot of talk of what I would call employee resiliency. And so there's always been very strong talk in terms of operational resiliency, control resiliency, but we're thinking a lot about people resiliency too. And the way that we think about it at JP Morgan is we have service centers across the globe that do transaction processing, answers questions, et cetera. But we also need to be and want to be in the markets specifically where our clients do business. So we have a hybrid model to support depending on how the client wants to be supported. But the importance of geographic disbursement is very top of mind in terms of servicing companies across the globe. And again, like we want to be in the markets where they are, but we also need to have resiliency options and what we call follow the sun approaches. And so we test on a regular basis. We have a single view of the client from an information technology perspective. So that allows us to really have a follow the sun, that if there's an inquiry after US closes, you can go into Asia and then onto EMEA, et cetera. And so we're thinking a lot about how do we continue to really enhance that model so that if there is a natural disaster, as an example, in one area, the other areas of the globe could easily pick up where we left off from a servicing and advisory perspective. So I would say that's trend one. The second is really shifting resources and really making sure folks are cross-trained. And so we have folks in regions who are fluent in other regions. And again, because if we, and to use my natural disaster example, it is important that our folks in EMEA, for example, really understand the Asia dynamics in terms of the payment processing landscape and the US, et cetera. And so we're thinking about how do we cross-train our teams to really have a dynamic model in case of the need to really invoke any sort of resiliency plan. And it's really about scale, right? And so we think a lot about where do we have scale in terms of technology, where do we have scale in terms of client service teams, and then where do we have that bespoke advice, and then connecting it all through a resiliency program that follows the sun.
Well, it's really highlights the unique challenges that JP Morgan has, being this global bank servicing global customers in all these different markets. So interesting. Jennifer, we're also seeing more businesses accelerate their digital agendas in the wake of this pandemic. Can you tell the audience what role technology has played in this service experience?
It's a really important question. And if you think about, Kristy, in our personal lives, right, we bring those expectations into our work lives in terms of quick answers, chat bots, easy to do business with, and really a streamlined experience. And so we talk a lot with our clients, and we co-create with our clients what are those tools that are going to help them be really, really efficient and on demand from a technology perspective. So certainly companies that have invested in digital are going to be, in my opinion, very well positioned, right? Not only today during the pandemic, but afterwards, because consumer behavior and behavior from our clients will probably change in terms of, or I should say adjust and evolve, because they'll continue to want quick and easy access to information, even when they're in the office, and could call their client service rep right away. And so we're seeing tools like digital signature, e-signature, be a really important part of the onboarding experience, because particularly when you're not in the office, you can't mail documents back and forth. And the electronic signature is really, really easy for clients, particularly from a work from home situation. And it's a lot faster, right? A lot of times for them to complete as well. But there's a couple of other technologies that we're seeing really strong interest. And so things like virtual assistants, right? So asking a chatbot a quick question on what's my balance or where's my payment, that is a technology that we're seeing a lot of strong adoption. We're also seeing a lot of adoption of APIs. And so our clients are using APIs to not only send and receive payments, but also send and receive information, including servicing information about their transactions and about the company. So we're seeing really strong adoption of those tools as well.
Fantastic. I love that. It is interesting. We start to see these things crossing over different markets. So from the consumer and the commercial market over to the wholesale market, et cetera. Yeah, fantastic. This is all great, Jennifer. Tell me, what do you think defines a best-in-class service experience? I know we've talked about all these different things, but
sure,
what's the very, benchmark that we should all be striving for?
I think best-in-class service is servicing clients when, how, and where they want. Every client is different. Every client's in a different growth trajectory, has different business needs. Some clients want to work with us entirely digitally. Others don't, and others still want to have a very strong relationship and an active and live dialogue with their client service representative. And so our model is designed to accommodate both of those. And so I think that when we think about best-in-class service, it's really taking the view of the client to understand what their needs are at that time. So it's about enabling technology to bring that to life. It's also about people. And it's really understanding the industry. And so our client service representatives have a very deep understanding of the industries that they service, as well as certain issues that clients may be going through or next steps in their growth phase. And so we spend a lot of time training our client service organization to make sure they understand all of those industry trends and dynamics and how we can really help guide clients through the process of change. I think best-in-class servicing also brings technology to the forefront. And it could be technology that the client uses, as we talked about with chatbots. It could be also technology that we are giving our client service associates to better advise our clients. And so we do a lot with data analytics, helping our clients understand how could they save money, where could they be a little bit more efficient. And so I think best-in-class service is really helping clients achieve their goals by using a lot of the technologies like artificial intelligence, machine learning, robotics to really bring that insight to clients.
Wow, fantastic. Well, something we can all strive for and look forward to, for sure. So many times the service topic is the last in the sales conversation. It's not until after you've signed the contract that you really experience it. Can you tell us what are the questions that customers should be asking early on?
Yeah, it's an interesting observation because if you follow the Greenwich study, about 6-7 years ago, client service was the number 5 factor in clients making decisions about about which provider to select. We're seeing that move up and it's currently sitting at number 3. So it is, up to your point, it is a factor that is becoming a larger, having a larger weight, if you will, in the sales process. And so it is something that we proactively talk about so that clients can understand who are they going to be working with on a day-to-day basis and what can they expect to see from us, not only from an onboarding and servicing perspective. And so I think it's really important for corporates to ask 3 questions. The first is, what is your onboarding, implementation, and servicing model? Really understanding who is going to be helping you, where are they, and what are the technology tools that they have to enable you to do that kind of at your pace. And then also, what is the resiliency plan around the models? Because again, whether it's a natural disaster or COVID or any sort of other event, we have to be prepared and have a resiliency plan to manage unexpected events while continuing to service and onboard our clients. And so I think that is a really important question that folks should be asking of their providers is, what is your resiliency plan? Do you have follow the sun? Does geographic location really matter? So on and so on. And then I think the other important question is, what technologies have you invested in, not only for the client experience, so things clients can use themselves, but for the employees? Like, is there a strong workflow that's connected globally? How are employees really been given information and analytics to improve the client experience and really help clients guide through the next phase of the journey? So those are the questions that we are hearing a lot, and I think clients should ask. I think the last one is just asking, who am I going to work with? Like meeting the person, understanding his or her background, other types of skill sets and industries and subject matter expertise these folks have. That is, the servicing organization is a very important part of the client experience. And so really meeting those people in advance, I think, is an important part of the process in determining the fit.
These are great insights and so topical as we get into a hopefully post-pandemic world where perhaps business will be changing and picking up and companies will be doing things differently for sure as we evolve to this new normal. This has been fantastic, Jennifer. I want to conclude this discussion by asking a question that I ask all of our guests and invite you to tell the audience, the rising stars in our audience, what career advice you might share with them, all these amazing women who are building careers in this industry. What would you tell these young women who want to be successful like you in the payments market?
I would say a couple of things. So first is, I would say, know what your skills are. So are they subject matter expertise related? Are they functional related? So really understand where are your what are your skills, and then how can you help other parts of the organization that you work with if you're looking for your next role, helping the hiring manager and folks in your network really understanding how can those skills help the organization in the next role that you have. So I would say is just having a really good sense of what you're good at. Nobody's good at everything. And so it's really focusing on your strengths. Are there development areas that you can learn more about, perhaps, and, from a subject matter expertise perspective? Certainly it's important to understand technology and how technology is changing the payments landscape. That's critical, whether it's APIs or all of the other tools around artificial intelligence and machine learning. The other thing I would say is the power of the network is so important. And so, make time to connect with, you certainly keep your network up to date, but there are so many wonderful opportunities to expand your network. And so take advantage of some of those opportunities, carve out some time to meet new people, learn new things, hear differences of views and opinions. And I think that's really interesting, as well as in terms of keeping up your network. And then the third I would say is just have confidence in your skills. I think that is, being able to articulate what it is that you're good at and where you can help the organization is really, really key. And there's so many fabulous women in payments globally around the world. And so it's really an exciting time to be in this industry.
Well, those are great insights, Jennifer, and clearly ones that anybody in our audience can take to heart. And I've always been a big one of networking, for sure, trying to give women networking opportunities. And how the heck do we network in this virtual environment is another whole question, but a topic for another day perhaps. But knowing your skills and knowing the technology is that whole question of constant lifelong learning. And the technology doesn't stand still, so we shouldn't either.
No, and don't be afraid to reach out and find those people who are experts. I think people in general will carve out time to help other people. And so it's just finding those people in your network who can help you with that.
Fantastic. This has been a great discussion, Jennifer. I've learned so much about service and how it's playing a bigger part in the sales process, and how we, as the consumers of these services, need to really focus and understand who's going to be servicing us, how are they going to be servicing us, what kind of technology has been invested to deliver these services. I love the whole concept of best in class service, and how it's servicing customers how, when, and where they want in ways that are meaningful and helpful to them. So thank you so much for sharing these insights.
It's my pleasure. And Kristy, one other thing is just also is asking your clients how you're doing, right? Measuring success, whether it's through traditional CSAT scores, surveys, which is what we do a lot of, certainly at JP Morgan. But I think that's the other element, is just asking for feedback in terms of how you're doing as well. But Kristy, it's been my pleasure.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Jennifer. Thank you, everybody, for listening. And I encourage you to join us online for many other Pause for Payments webinars, where we host discussions with inspirational leaders like Jennifer from around the world of payments. So thanks so much.
Thank you.